On the 12th day of my silent war with Ethan, he showed up at his birthday party with a woman from high society clinging to his arm. Someone laughed and said, "Ethan, are you really going to leave your Selena? Didn't you chase after her for 6 years like a dog?" Ethan, holding the stunning woman close, smirked and replied with a bite of sarcasm, "Girls without family or money love to dream. I just fed her a fairy tale so she could taste the sweetness of love. No one ever wanted her anyway." What entertained me was that ridiculous pride mixed with insecurity. It amused me. Laughter erupted around them. Glasses clinked, people toasted, and I stood outside the door listening as I became nothing more than a piece of gossip spilling from his indifferent lips. The gift I had bought for him now felt like a cruel joke on myself. I turned away without a word. If you can't hold onto the sand, let it blow away with the wind. Later, Ethan asked me if I even had a heart. I told him, "No, I don't." Inside that private room, Ethan held Lisa like the rest of the world didn't exist, and I stood outside, unable to put my feelings into words. With Ethan, it had always been back and forth games. Every time we fought, he would stay on his throne, waiting for me to crawl back to him like some loyal dog wagging its tail, and I let him trample on my dignity. The more lines he crossed, the more I ignored them. By the 12th day, he was already publicly with another woman because he knew I would still show up with a gift in hand, trying to calm the waters. Someone inside chuckled again. "Seriously, Ethan? You chased her for 6 years." With Lisa in his arms, Ethan took a drag of his cigarette and sneered. "Cinderella's love to dream. I just gave her the illusion of love. No one wanted her, so I gave her a taste. Now she thinks she's important. Hilarious." Laughter exploded once more. "Then why chase her so hard?" someone asked. "Because I hadn't slept with her yet," he answered without hesitation. That absurd pride mixed with low self-esteem intrigued me. Lisa poked him in the chest. "So, what's so special about an old virgin?" He blew smoke into the air and said coldly, "Nothing. Too repressed. Let her stay that way forever. I don't care anymore." A sharp pain shot through my chest, and suddenly everything lost meaning, not sadness, but a hollow, heavy disappointment. I turned away, no longer wanting to hear another word. Under the flashing city lights, I tossed his birthday gift into a trash bin. In the crowded street, faces passed by one after another, and I wondered who is someone's unrequited love, and who is just a passing touch. I grew up between my parents' constant shouting and fighting. After their divorce, my father brought different women home and forced me to call them Mom. When I refused, he beat me mercilessly. Eventually, he left me with my grandparents and never came back, but they hated my mother, and so they hated me too. Even the man I called grandfather once tried to violate me. I used to hide behind the house and cry through the night. No one treated me well. No one wanted me to be happy. I'd always been pessimistic about love, never believing anyone could truly love me. That's why, when Ethan started pursuing me, I rejected him coldly, without hesitation. But he persisted 6 years of chasing from our second year of high school until we graduated college. No matter how many times I ignored him, he always said, "It doesn't matter if you love me or not, I'll always love you." I pushed him away again and again, trying to test him, but he never left. And I thought, maybe he really did love me. Who doesn't want to be loved? 6 years, how many times do we get 6 years in our life? So I gave him a chance. I opened my heart and accepted him. But only a week after we got together, he couldn't wait to get me into bed. I believed that without marriage it shouldn't happen, so I refused. But he kept pushing, again and again, trying to persuade or trick me. After several rejections, he lost patience and became cold, sometimes going days without speaking to me. In those 2 years together, the balance of love shifted without me realizing. His feelings grew lighter while mine became heavier. They say people who don't fall in love easily love so deeply when they do that they lose their mind, and I think I'm one of them. I started giving in more and more, tolerating him without limits, begging him from a place of humiliation. Ethan became the one in control. Every time I refused to sleep with him, he found new ways to punish me, abandoning me under pouring rain or in strong winds, saying filthy things about me in front of his friends so they'd give me disgusting looks, calling me in the middle of the night only to yell at me to leave when I arrived, or sending 9 red envelopes of 999 yuan each to other girls during holidays, just to hurt me. And now, with Lisa, his so-called high society, he was publicly humiliating me, this lowly Cinderella from the neighborhood. He hurt me without mercy. He enjoyed watching me suffer, watching me cry and break. Every time I cried, he would wipe my tears gently and whisper, "Now will you give it to me? If you do, I'll love you forever." He wanted to see my last defense crumble. I'll admit, I thought about it when the pain was too much. I believed no one would ever love me like he did, and I wondered, what if I just gave in? Would it matter? But every time I was about to, fear stopped me. Fear of being left with nothing, of ending up alone, broken, discarded. Today, I put on my best makeup, wore my prettiest dress, fought off every negative thought, and was ready to give myself to him. But he crushed me without hesitation. In the end, it had all been a farce. In his eyes, I had never been worth enough. What he wanted was to watch me let go of my useless dignity, swallow my insecurity, and kneel before him. I laughed, then tears poured down like a flood. How absurd that my dull, colorless life had managed to attract someone who put in so much effort just to destroy me. Looking back now, every time I forgave him, how pathetic I must have looked. I told him that without marriage, there would be no sex, but Ethan never once mentioned wanting to marry me. How ridiculous. Yet I still fell into his trap of fake love, blind and unable to escape. In this world, not even my own parents loved me. How could I expect anyone else to? At least I learned the truth before I lost everything. My life was already a swamp. All that happened was that I ended up back where I started. So what? It's not the end of the world. This inexplicable sadness clung to me like a demon that refused to let go. I'm not a robot. I feel. 8 years, even if it was only a dog, if it suddenly vanished from my life, my soul would still ache. Passing by a bakery, I wiped my tears and bought a slice of cake, then a cup of milk tea. They say sweets release dopamine, making you feel happy. I took a bite of the cake, a sip of tea, and the sweetness spread through my body, but the only thing that came to my mind was Ethan, our happiest moments. A tear fell onto my hand before I even realized I was crying again. Lies. They said sugar could heal the soul, but I only felt worse. I forced the tears back and kept eating in small bites. Maybe I was so lost in my own misery that I didn't even notice the person walking toward me. We collided, the milk tea spilling all over his clothes. I rushed to apologize as my belongings scattered across the ground. I crouched to pick them up, frantic, but the cake had fallen, dirty and ruined. Just like my heart broken, beyond repair. Tears threatened again, my throat burning from the inside. I couldn't keep pretending I was fine. I was too sad. I buried my face into my knees and let the tears pour out like a flood. "I didn't even yell at you, so why are you crying?" a man's voice asked. Slowly, I lifted my head, my vision blurred by tears, and saw Jolethan's best friend leaning on one knee, his watch glinting under the city lights. He knelt in front of me, looking at me calmly. "Are you okay?" That question echoed in my mind, dragging me back to that day in my second year of middle school when my grandfather came into my room in the middle of the night. I had run out in chaos, clothes disheveled, collapsing in the street intersection, trembling. Ethan had crouched in front of me then, saying the same words, "Are you okay?" And now, years later, that same voice, that same gesture, came rushing back with even more force, shattering me inside. Why? Why did everything have to be a lie? My tears fell harder. Joel studied me for a moment before helping me to my feet. "It's just a cake and tea. I'll replace them." He picked up the ruined cake and tossed it into a trash bin, then walked me to his car. "Wait here." He shut the door gently and headed to the nearest dessert shop. The neon city lights filtered through the window but couldn't brighten the darkness in the car, let alone the dark corner of my heart where no cure existed. Soon Joel returned with his arms full of cakes and tea so many kinds and dropped them all onto my lap in one push. "I'll take you home." Meanwhile, Ethan sat in the private room, eyes darting toward the entrance, growing more irritated with every glance. He picked up his phone over and over only to set it back down. He had smoked an entire pack, drunk more than his body could handle. Everyone expected Selena to show up and make a scene. Ethan did too, even posting his location on social media, but she never walked in. His friends grew restless, and even he felt uneasy. He hated himself for it. With so many women available, was he stuck on Selena? Why did it have to be her? The door finally opened and Ethan's head shot up, but it was only a waiter with more bottles. He slumped back onto the sofa like the air had been knocked out of him, shoving Lisa off his lap. Hurt. She tried to cling to him again. Get out, Ethan snapped. Tears welled in her eyes. Didn't you hear me? Get out. Her tears spilled over, but she stood and left with wounded pride. Silence filled the room. Someone tried to break the tension. Still hung up on Selena. Huh? Don't worry, she'll call you crying before the night's over. Laughter followed. Look, Ethan's still wearing that hair tie Selena made him use. And he won't eat anything unless she cooked it. She even has all his passwords and checks his accounts now and then. I'm telling you, before 3 a.m., she'll call crying. Ethan touched the hair tie on his wrist, comforted. Every other time, Selena had almost given in completely. Tonight, he thought, she would finally be his submissive, broken, all to himself. Just the thought of her crying beneath him filled him with a dark thrill. If you care that much, why don't you marry her? Once you're married, you can do whatever you want. Don't be ridiculous. Selena's beneath him. His family's already arranging a proper match. Is that true, Ethan? But Ethan said nothing. He stood and left. He couldn't wait any longer. Tonight she would be his. I sat by the living room window with the lights off. The city that was so noisy by day was starting to quiet down. The cake in its bag was smashed to pieces. The milk tea had spilled onto the floor. The man I had finally begun to love was with another woman. Was he whispering to her the same sweet things he'd once told me? Was he making her the same promises he'd once made me? In the darkness, I let myself sink into sorrow. My pain wasn't loud. Only those who have truly loved understand how much it can hurt. At 2:30 in the morning, Ethan's driver parked in front of my building. The night was so still you could hear the asphalt crackle. Ethan stepped out, loosening his tie, his mouth dry. He went up to my floor, but when he tried to enter the passcode, it failed once, twice again. Frustrated, he kicked the door and started ringing the bell. I didn't react. I knew it was him. I figured if no one answered, he'd eventually leave. But my phone started ringing once, twice, 3 times. She must have heard it from outside. Then the pounding began. I saw his name on the screen. After a long pause, I answered, not wanting to disturb the neighbors. His voice was rough from alcohol. Baby, I'm sorry, let's not fight anymore, okay? It's my birthday, and you didn't come. I waited for you all day. But it's okay if you won't come for me. I'll come for you. I could have nothing else in life, but I can't lose you, my wife. I listened with a blank expression, saying nothing. Tomorrow, let's go sign the papers, okay? I want us to have a baby. I swear I miss you so much. Baby, please don't be mad. Will you open the door? At that, I let out a bitter laugh. How could he say such things after everything he'd said about me? Ethan, we're done. That inexplicable sadness clung to me like a demon that refused to let go. I'm not a machine. I feel. 8 years may have been just with a dog to some people, but if it suddenly disappeared from my life, my soul would ache all the same. Passing by a bakery, I wiped my tears and bought a slice of cake, then ordered a cup of milk tea. They say sweets produce dopamine, that little chemical that makes you feel happy. I took a bite of the cake, a sip of tea, and that sweetness spread through my body, but all I could think of was Ethan. Our happiest moments. A tear fell onto my hand before I even realized I was crying again. Lies. They said sugar could comfort the soul, but I only felt worse. Forcing the tears back down, I kept taking bites. Maybe I was so lost in my thoughts I didn't notice the man coming toward me until we collided. The milk tea spilled all over his clothes, and I rushed to apologize as my belongings scattered to the ground. I knelt to gather them quickly, but the cake slipped from my hand, hit the pavement, and was ruined. Just like my heart broken, beyond repair. The tears were rising again, my throat burning, and I couldn't keep pretending I was fine. I was drowning in sadness. I buried my face in my knees and let the tears pour out. I didn't even yell at you, so why are you crying? A man's voice asked in front of me. I lifted my head slowly, eyes blurred with tears, and saw Joel, Ethan's best friend, kneeling down with one arm resting on his knee, his watch catching the city lights. His gaze was calm as he asked, "Are you okay?" The question echoed through my memory, taking me back to my second year of high school when my grandfather showed up in my room in the middle of the night. I'd run out into the street, clothes a mess, shaking uncontrollably, until Ethan knelt in front of me and asked the exact same thing. And now, years later, that same voice, that same gesture, it all came rushing back, and I shattered inside. Why? Why did everything have to be a lie? My tears came harder. Joel studied me for a moment before helping me up. "It's just a cake and a tea. I'll replace them." He picked up the ruined cake and tossed it into a nearby trash bin, then led me to his car. "Wait here," he said softly, closing the door before heading to the nearest dessert shop. The neon glow and the endless motion of the city outside the car window couldn't reach the dark corner of my heart, the one that had no cure. Joel soon returned, arms full of cakes and milk teas, different flavors, piled into my lap in one gentle shove. "I'll take you home." Meanwhile, somewhere else that night, Ethan sat in a private room, growing more restless with every glance toward the door. He picked up his phone only to set it down again, chain-smoked an entire pack, and drank far too much. Everyone there expected Selena to show up and cause a scene, Ethan included. He even posted his location on social media. But she never came. His friends started getting impatient, and even he began to feel a gnawing discomfort. Why, out of all the women he could have, did he keep coming back to Selena? Why did it have to be her? Just then, the private room door opened, and his head snapped uponly to see a waiter bringing more bottles. His shoulders slumped, as if all the air had been sucked out of him. With a sharp motion, he shoved Lisa off his lap. She tried to move closer again, but he barked, "Get out." Her eyes filled with tears. "Didn't you hear me?" I said, "Get out." She left, wounded pride held high. The room fell silent until one of his friends broke it with a teasing smirk. "Still hung up on Selena? Huh? Don't worry, she'll be calling you in tears before the night's over." Laughter followed. "Yeah, Luke's still wearing that hair tie she made him wear. And he won't eat anything unless she cooked it. She's got all his passwords and checks his accounts whenever she wants. Trust me, she won't last the night. She'll call you in tears before 3 a.m. Ethan touched the hair tie on his wrist, a twisted sense of relief blooming. In the past, Selena had almost given in completely, and tonight he thought he could finally have her submissive, broken beneath him. The thought filled him with a dark thrill. "If you care that much, why not marry her?" one friend teased. "Once you're married, you can do whatever you want." Another scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. She's not on his level. His family's already arranging a proper match for him." "Is that true, Ethan?" But Ethan didn't answer. He just stood and left. He wasn't going to wait anymore. Tonight she would be his. Meanwhile, I sat in my living room, lights off, staring out the window. The city that had been so loud during the day was finally quieting down. The cake in the bag was smashed to crumbs. The milk tea had leaked all over the floor. Someone I'd finally begun to love was in another woman's arms. Was he whispering the same sweet lies he once told me? Promising her the same future he once promised me? In the darkness, I let the sadness pull me under. My pain wasn't dramatized, it was quiet, heavy, the kind only someone who's truly loved could understand. At 2:30 a.m., Ethan's driver pulled up in front of my building. The night was so still you could hear the faint crackle of asphalt. Ethan stepped out, loosening his tie, mouth dry, and went upstairs. But when he entered my door code, it failed. Once. Twice. Again. Frustrated, he kicked the door and started ringing the bell. I knew it was him, and I figured if no one answered, he'd leave. But then my phone rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. He must have heard it from outside because the pounding grew louder. I saw his name on the screen. After a long pause, I answered, not wanting to disturb the neighbors. His voice, rough from alcohol, came through. "Baby, I'm sorry, let's not fight anymore, okay? It's my birthday, and you didn't come. I waited all day for you. But it's okay if you won't come to me. I'll come to you. I could have nothing in this world, but I can't lose you. Not my wife. I listened with a blank expression, offering no reply. Let's go sign the papers tomorrow, okay? I want us to have a child. I swear I miss you so much. Baby, please don't be mad anymore. Can you open the door? At that, I let out a bitter laugh. How could he say these things after everything he'd said about me? Ethan, it's over. The air froze for a few seconds, heavy with the weight of my words. What did you just say? Ethan's voice cracked with disbelief. Maybe it was the emotional whiplash, but my head started pounding. I closed my eyes, breathed, and repeated calmly, Ethan, let's end this. He stared at me like I'd lost my mind. I've been so good to you, and you still want to leave me? Selena, do you even have a conscience? After all these years. My chest tightened, my throat burned, but I held my ground. From now on, let's not contact each other again. The words left my mouth, and I felt an ache deep in my nose, the kind you get when tears threaten. Ethan had never been completely honest with me, but he was still the person who had stayed by my side the longest, the one who'd treated me better than anyone else. And yet, so many people waste their love on those who never deserved it, and in the end, that's exactly what we were. Nothing. I've been with you all these years, he pressed on. And you can still just walk away? Who else will ever love you more than I do? No one will be as patient as I've been, waiting, staying. Don't end this, okay? His voice was smooth, practiced, like he truly believed no one could love me more than he did. I had once believed it too. Now it just sounded ridiculous. Ethan, there's nothing left to talk about. This is the end. His tone turned ice cold. You really want to break up? Yes. Not even if I spoil you? I don't need your spoiling. Leave. His patience snapped. What the hell do you want from me? I've done everything, and you're still not satisfied. Selena, do you think you're that important? Did I treat you so well you forgot who you are? No wonder your parents abandoned you. No wonder your grandparents hated you. No wonder no one loves you. You've never appreciated anything. The one who knows you best also knows exactly where to plunge the knife. Every word from him cut like a blade, as if I were the one who had betrayed us, as if I had committed some unforgivable sin against him. I didn't say another word. I hung up. Ethan slammed his fist against the door before walking out, laughing coldly. Later, he sat in the car, not telling the driver to go. Instead, he lit a cigarette. He had originally planned to sleep with me tonight, and then dump me for good after all. He was getting bored. Marriage had never been in his plans. Without marriage, he could do anything for me. With marriage, my background would never be good enough. But tonight hadn't gone the way he expected. I had left him first. Rage burned through his chest like acid. He stubbed out the cigarette with his fingers and scowled. He'd had countless women, could have any type he wanted, but I never played into his hands. My heart was cold, guarded, impossible to move. I required patience, slow persistence. Only when I considered someone safe would I let them in. At first, for him, it had been about pride. He couldn't believe he couldn't win me over. 8 years passed like that. Now, he wasn't even sure if it was still pride or if he'd actually fallen for me. All he knew was the anger consuming him. How dare I reject him? He grabbed his phone and made a call. Make things hard for Selena at work for the next few days. He figured I had lived too well during my years with him, forgotten the pain I once knew. He would remind me. He would make sure I understood having him was a blessing. The next morning, I walked into the office and bumped into Lisa, a mere intern with far more influence than her title suggested. Rumor had it she had powerful connections, though no one knew just how deep they ran. Yesterday, I found out she and Ethan moved in the same social circles. Good morning, Selena, she chirped, her eyes gleaming with barely concealed contempt. I didn't bother reading into it. Morning, I replied flatly. She walked beside me. Thanks for helping me with work yesterday. Let me buy you lunch. Yesterday, she'd begged me to finish her tasks so she could rush off to celebrate her boyfriend's birthday. Feeling pity, I'd agreed, never imagining her boyfriend was my own. I wasn't about to argue with someone like her. No need. Come on, friends don't refuse a meal. I stopped and looked at her coldly. We're not friends. After all this time, not even that? No, I walked away. She gave a mocking laugh. What else can you do besides pretend to be decent? Everyone knows what your grandfather did to you. Who are you fooling now? Even Ethan says you're disgusting. He calls you Cinderella, and you still think you're worth something? If I were you, I'd be ashamed to keep living. Those old wounds, the ones that once made me crumble. Ethan had always pretended to be heartbroken over them, claimed he wished he'd met me sooner to protect me. Now, they were punchlines between him and Lisa. The worst part? There was no defending myself. False rumors stick, and even if I fought them, no one would believe me. Lisa was beautiful, well-connected, adored by many here. In any contest between her and me, everyone knew who they'd side with. I had long since learned the truth about people. One more snake in the grass didn't change a thing. I looked her in the eye. Why are you coming at me like a rabid dog? Did Ethan already dump you? Her face twisted in rage. Do you really think you matter to Ethan? And that pathetic rule of yours about not sleeping with anyone unless you're married? Ethan would never marry trash like you. You act innocent, but you're rotten inside. I didn't raise my voice. Whoever loses their temper first loses. I gave her a faint smile. Even someone like me, Ethan still doesn't want you. That's sad. Didn't you know? Around 2 a.m, Ethan came drunk, looking for me. It was graduation season again. Who lives a youth without regrets? And who lives one full of them? From afar, a melody reached me. Let me settle you in the dust, bury the past in silence. After so many storms, I come from the sea and find refuge in this desert. For a moment, it felt as if some invisible force violently dragged me back to the past, flooding my mind with memories of Ethan. When I was in elementary school, my parents divorced. My grandparents despised me but kept raising me for appearances. Sometimes, my grandfather showed a strange kindness, taking my hand and asking me to be obedient. Back then, I couldn't understand the filth in his eyes. I just wanted to please him, hoping someday he might love me. But his touches became increasingly inappropriate. He would grab my hand and rub it. I hated that feeling and instinctively started avoiding him. By middle school, I didn't hesitate. I chose to live in the dorm. If I could avoid going home, I would. All I wished was to grow up fast and escape the filth. I told myself if I could endure those last 3 years, I could start a new life. But those years were hell. My grandfather still came to pick me up sometimes. Gossip spread like wildfire. Everyone knew my parents were divorced, and everyone said I was my grandfather's toy. Some even mocked me, asking how many abortions I'd had. Slowly, I became someone everyone felt entitled to humiliate. My clothes, what I ate, even my hairstyle became targets of mockery. One class bully asked me in front of everyone how much it cost to be with me and said he wanted to pay me for a whole month. When seating was arranged, my desk partner would switch seats with the bully just so he could sit next to me. The class monitor assigned me tasks with the same guy. Teachers looked the other way. Nobody helped. That was the darkest time in my life. I even thought about dying. I tried to endure it, but every time I gathered strength, the world's filth pulled me down again. And then Ethan appeared right when I was on the edge of the abyss. One day, my father forced me to go home. My biological father. He dragged me to the car, and though many saw it, no one dared help. They just watched. My father brought another woman home and ordered me to call her mom. I refused, again and again. Furious, he grabbed a whip and tried to hit me, but the woman stepped in, shielding me with her body. The whip struck her instead. Her voice was gentle and calm. She told me not to be afraid. She took the whip from my father and handed me a bag. "Selena, don't be afraid. Auntie won't let him hurt you." Inside was a piece of cake and a cup of milk tea. I'd never had either before. The sweet scent filled my nose, and tears fell uncontrollably. No one had ever spoken to me so kindly. I thought if only I had a mother, that would be wonderful. She wiped my tears, put a straw in a mango grapefruit drink, and gently offered it to me. Her warm gaze seemed truly caring. I gave in and took a sip. I thought, even if she's just my stepmother, if she can get me out of this life, it would be 1,000 times better than what I have now. But that night, I began feeling weak. I woke from a nightmare. Thunder and lightning lit the sky, and in the flashes, my grandfather's dirty, twisted face looked more terrifying than ever. Then I understood the milk tea. had something strange in it. My eyes started burning. I must have been crazy to think that woman meant well. Anyone eyeing my dad meant trouble. Luckily, I'd only taken one sip. The moment my grandfather lunged at me, I grabbed pepper spray beside me and sprayed his eyes. While he screamed and covered his face, I grabbed a kettle of boiling water and poured it all over his crotch. His howls filled the room like a dying pig. My grandmother came running at the noise. I shoved her away and ran. My adrenaline was so high my limbs trembled uncontrollably. I was scared someone would grab me from behind or appear suddenly ahead. I don't know how long I ran. I just remember collapsing at an intersection. My face hit the asphalt hard. My head buzzed and I couldn't get up. Then, a pair of shoes appeared before me, and my heart jumped to my throat. I tried to stand but couldn't. Ethan knelt before me, looking confused at my disheveled state. "Are you okay?" He wasn't my grandfather, not my father. At that moment, it was like a drowning person suddenly seeing a life buoy. All the emotions I'd bottled up exploded. I couldn't speak. I just cried. Ethan helped me up, covered me with his jacket, and took me to the hospital. His soft voice soothed me as he showed his student ID and told me not to be afraid, that everything would be okay. To me then, he was like the sun, warm and full of light. The noise of reality suddenly pulled me from my thoughts. Memories faded fast. The car stopped gently in its parking spot. I collapsed onto the steering wheel, drained. My phone buzzed with a notification, a message tagging me in the alumni group, usually silent, but now flooded with over 99 messages. I opened it without thinking. Ethan was sending virtual red envelopes. Someone had tagged me. "Selena, are you marrying Ethan? Congratulations, congratulations. It's beautiful to see true love win at last. Be happy." Others mocked. "Never thought Ethan could be so loyal. He looks like a womanizer, but turns out he's faithful. Ha ha ha. Selena, say something." Ethan wrote, "She's mad at me, won't talk to me. Says she wants to break up." The messages flooded the alumni group. "And what are you doing here? Go fix it already." Ethan pleaded, "Tell me how. I don't know how to make peace with her. Weren't you the ultimate simp? And now you ask us?" Ethan tagged me. "Love, please don't be mad. Don't leave me. If only everything could go back to how it was. If life gave second chances, that would be wonderful. But sadly, everything had lost its original shape. And so had what here was no going back to what we were." Calmly and coldly, I typed one line. "Ethan and I are done." Then I left the alumni group and, while I was at it, exited all related groups. Just after that, Ethan called. I hung up, then blocked him everywhere. Finally, the world was silent again. I turned my face toward the window, numb, indifferent. I spent the entire day in the parking lot in front of the school. When city lights began to glow, I found an old restaurant and ordered a bowl of rice noodles. The rising steam blurred my vision, wetting my eyes. After such a long, painful journey, I still hadn't grown used to solitude. "Is he that important to you?" A gentle male voice interrupted. Joel sat across from me. The moment I looked up, a tear fell into my bowl. Embarrassed, I looked away. "What are you doing here?" Joel smiled. "Is Ethan really that important to you?" I stayed silent, nodding then shaking my head. How could he not be important? But as important as he was, I had to let him go. "Did he treat you well?" I thought a moment. "More or less. From my point of view, he was the best I had." Joel said, "Do you know the fastest way to forget someone?" I stirred my noodles with chopsticks. "What?" "Start a new relationship. I don't want a partner anymore. It's exhausting. Then get married." Who would marry me? Me. I froze and stared at Joel. He met my gaze seriously. It took me a few seconds to process what he said. "We barely know each other, Joel." Joel took a sip of water and smiled. "You ate the cake I bought, drank the milk tea I brought, used the email I sent, and now you say we don't know each other. No wonder Ethan says you're as cold as ice." That's when I remembered Joel sent the email about Lisa. I felt a little awkward. "Thanks for helping me." Joel replied, "Not surprising. An IT expert like you would know exactly how to reverse and resend an email. Have you been watching Lisa long? She's been circling Ethan for a while. You just didn't notice." I nodded and began eating. Though I didn't feel completely well, I understood something. If it can be stolen, it was never truly yours. If it hadn't been Lisa, it would have been someone else. It was only a matter of time. While eating, I asked casually, "Don't tell me you did all this for me." Joel didn't avoid my gaze. He held my eyes. "If I said yes, would you believe me?" Without blinking, "No." Joel laughed and pulled out a document, placing it before me. "Are these conditions enough for you to marry me?" I didn't take the document. I rejected it outright. Marriage isn't indispensable in my life. And I don't like you. Joel placed the papers in my hand anyway. "Marry me. If I file for divorce, I walk away with nothing. If you file, you get 50% of my personal assets. No one will dare harm you again. You can use me forever. I'll be your umbrella. Don't you see marriage as an obligation? Then see it as an option. Let me be one of your options. Selena, you have nothing to lose. Only to gain." I glanced over the prenuptial agreement, uninterested. "Joel, do you think I'm stupid? Things that fall from the sky always have traps. You sound like a scammer with that offer." I closed the document and threw it back at him. "I'm not interested in marrying you." I pointed to the door. "Leave." But Joel didn't move. "You left Lisa shattered. She won't rest. And Ethan won't let you live in peace either." I frowned. In Beijing, it took blood, sweat, and tears to find a place. I'd just bought my apartment with a mortgage. I couldn't just sell everything and run like the rich do. Lisa's photos were already everywhere. She wouldn't seek revenge on others, only me. Even if I reported her, even if she was caught one day, she wouldn't be out of my life forever. It would be an endless cycle. And Ethan? When he's tired, he can leave me. But if I leave him, that's not allowed. He'll do everything to keep ruining my life. As long as Ethan and Lisa breathe, I won't have a single day of peace. Marrying Joel suddenly seemed like a logical option. But that kind of decision didn't make me feel good. Joel kept talking. "Even if someday you divorce me, I'll make sure someone always protects you." He raised his hand and gently stroked my cheek. His thumb slid softly over my lips. "It's all written down, legally binding. And even if it's a scam, I just want to steal your heart." I held his hand. "Don't do this." He intertwined his fingers with mine. "Don't do what?" Joel asked. "Here I am. I don't have a heart anymore." "Then what are you afraid of?" "I don't have a heart anymore." "Then what scares you so much?" If the alternative was living under the torture of those two, maybe it was better to live in the fake love Joel was offering. Even if it was false. At least for a while, it would give me peace. When the marriage certificate landed in my hands, I felt somewhat dazed. The summer wind slid through the banana tree leaves. The sunlight fell on that little red book as if it were a chain imposed by fate. I didn't know what the future held. I only wished the peace of this moment. Joel took my hand, and we walked slowly down a quiet street in the afternoon. Just like the day Ethan took me from the hospital and walked me back to the university. Slow. Unreal. Memories came and went, swinging in my mind. A ray of light from a distant past pierced through time and struck me in the chest. Then the colors of those memories faded into dull black and white. No one else shone in my memory. My youth had become a storyless shadow. Suddenly, I felt a knot in my nose. I didn't even know why I felt sad. It was just that in this fleeting moment, I couldn't release everything I had been through. At that moment, Joel's phone rang. It was a call from the company. He answered, said a few words, and hung up. "There's an urgent matter at the office. I have to go." I nodded. "Go ahead, don't worry. I'll go alone." Joel looked at me for a long moment, then suddenly kissed me fiercely. After a while, he let go and rested his forehead against mine. "Are you that eager for me to leave?" I looked down. "You said it was urgent, right? Come with me." "I don't want to." He chuckled softly in a hoarse voice. "Then wait for me at home tonight. I'll come home with my license in hand." I moved away from his breath, a little lost. Chapter 18. Since Selena announced the breakup in the alumni group and completely blocked Ethan, Ethan started a total Cold War on his own. He knew Selena. After 8 years together, she was part of his blood. He was sure she wouldn't be able to leave him just like that. So this time he cut all contact. He disappeared without a trace. He thought, only when Selena really loses him will she understand how much he meant to her. But a week passed. Then 2. A month. 2 months. And no sign of her. He became increasingly irritable. More aggressive. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Selena. The more he tried, the crazier he felt. It took him 6 years to reach her heart and finally make her his girlfriend. When she didn't want him to touch her, he endured. For 2 years. There was one time he tore off all her clothes and almost had her. Almost.
But she broke down crying.
At that moment, he could have ignored everything, forced the situation, made her completely his. But seeing her tears, he felt his soul split in two. He felt like a damn fool. For the first time in his life, he rejected something he already had within reach. He put her clothes back on and held her all night while they watched The Pearl Princess like two fools. His friends didn't stop teasing him for a whole year. Yes, he always got mad at her, but he also loved her. For real. How could she break his heart like that? When the car stopped in front of Selena's building, the city was already dressed in twilight. Ethan forced himself to stay calm as he got out of the car. At that moment, he only wanted to get her back. He was even willing to marry her. His anxious step stopped in front of her door. He raised his hand to knock but stopped. It was like going back to those days when he was just starting to win her over. So cautious. So lost. No matter how she treated him, he always came back like a dog wagging its tail, begging for her love. Chapter 19. I didn't move into the supposed marital home that Joel bought. But he insisted on accompanying me home every time. During these last 2 months, he woke up early every day to prepare breakfast for me. If he didn't have to work overtime, he took me to the supermarket to buy groceries and then cooked at home. Sometimes, when he was very busy, he worked from the living room. While I cooked in the kitchen, I just had to turn around to see him there, focused with that serious profile. The idea of home, that was once vague to me, began to take shape during these 2 months. He was always very respectful with me. Although he often joked that he wanted to practice with a license as a husband, he actually hadn't touched me all that time. He even took me to the hospital, where I discovered that my fear of intimacy wasn't about being married or not. It was a psychological trauma from my adolescence, something I had been carrying unknowingly. He paid more attention to the doctor than I did. He was always patient and caring, guiding me little by little even when I was on the verge of losing control. As soon as he noticed the slightest sign of rejection from me, he stopped immediately. I often thought he really loved me, but I didn't know exactly what he loved about me. Every time he looked at me, my heart raced. I couldn't hold his gaze. He looked at me like a hungry beast. Like at the slightest slip, he would devour me whole. And today was no exception. In the elevator, he couldn't wait any longer and started kissing me desperately. He was carrying the supermarket bags in one hand, and with the other held the back of my head, kissing me fiercely with a wild intensity. The elevator dinged as it opened. And yet he didn't stop kissing me as we walked out. The sound of plastic bags dropping to the floor, the broken breaths, the disorderly steps all mixed into a scene impossible to watch without blushing. I didn't even notice Ethan approaching until the smell of smoke filled my nostrils just as I heard his voice, "Selena." I was startled. I wanted to push Joel away. But he pulled me closer to his chest with eyes still clouded by desire, looking at Ethan with provocative calm. Ethan's anger exploded immediately. Maybe it hurt him too much. His voice trembled, a mix of anger, disappointment, and pain. "Selena, when you were with me, every time I wanted to kiss you, you pulled away. And now? Can't you even wait until you get home? 8 years, not 8 days. What did Ethan really mean to you? Is your heart made of stone? Do you really think I don't have feelings? That it doesn't hurt me? Selena." Even now, he doesn't believe he did anything wrong. Maybe to him, I was never enough. Never worthy of being shown to the world. So I'm supposed to thank him for everything he's done, even the pain he caused me. Because someone like me should feel lucky just to receive his attention. With my head resting on Joel's chest, I didn't move. I only spoke calmly. "Ethan, there's nothing more to say. Let's end this here." Ethan finally broke down emotionally. He tried to pull me away. But Joel pushed him away with a sharp shove. That was when Ethan recognized Joel's face. With a trembling hand, he pointed at him. "Is that you?" Ethan stood up and threw a punch at Joel. I considered you a brother, and you're sleeping with my woman. Joel caught Ethan's fist and threw him aside. He said coldly, she's easily scared. Don't scare her. Find a place. I'll come with you to fight. Ethan clenched his jaw so hard it almost cracked a tooth.
Fine.
You've got guts. Joel gently moved me away from his chest, bent down, and picked up the grocery bag from the floor. He opened the door and kissed me on the forehead. Wait for me at home. He gently pushed me inside and closed the door. Just before the door closed, I caught a glimpse of Ethan's reddened eyes. As if he loved me madly. Maybe he did love me. After all, no one stays with someone for 8 years without feeling something. But now, how much of that love remained? He was just a toy he thought he had secured, only for someone else to come and snatch it away. And he couldn't tolerate that. Chapter 20, Outskirts, Open Field. As soon as they got out of the car, Ethan threw a direct punch at Joel. Are you human? You slept with your own brother's woman? Ethan was completely out of control, hitting furiously and fast like a madman. Joel couldn't dodge all the blows and took several hits. But when Ethan began to tire, Joel counterattacked brutally. Your brother? Since when are you my brother? That mistress you call your mother can't even compare to mine. And tell me, was that woman really yours, huh? No wonder your mother liked to meddle in other people's affairs. I guess stealing what's not yours is exciting for your family. Your 8 years of love aren't worth even a popsicle I gave her when she was at her lowest. The woman you couldn't have for 8 years, I had her in 2 months. And you're already erased from her memory. Like you never existed. She even said she never felt your love was sincere in 8 years. Ethan trembled with rage, veins bulging on his neck. Shut up, son of a bitch. Both were of similar height, and the fight was even. Soon both ended up with bruised and bloodied faces. But Joel still had that arrogant smile. Only his eyes, cold as ice, revealed the real darkness. Ethan, you inherited your mother's shamelessness 100%. When I found out you hadn't slept with Selena in 8 years, I knew you were truly in love. But not even you knew how much. And that's why you will always be the joke. Just like when your mom made mine a laughingstock for everyone. Ethan's face turned ash gray. Not a word came out. He wanted to tear Joel apart with his hands. He clenched his teeth, and every punch he threw was meant to kill. I treated you well, Joel. Always treated you well. I never imagined you could be so vile. What did Selena do to you? Why did you have to use her like that? Do you know you could ruin her life? Joel laughed while counterattacking. And when you hurt her, did you think about how you were destroying her? The betrayal you feel now is the same one she felt when you and Lisa stabbed her in the back. Do you really think she will forgive you? Selena doesn't love you anymore. Ethan roared and punched Joel right in the face. He used all his strength in that blow. After the impact, he collapsed to his knees, desperate, his face completely distorted with pain. You're a beast, Joel. A damn animal. Joel wiped the blood off his lip with the back of his hand and replied with disdain, compared to your mother, I don't even qualify to be in her league. Saying that, he turned and walked away. When he reached the car, he stopped. With his back to Ethan, he said, Selena stayed with you because she believed you truly loved her, not because she loved you. So she'll go with whoever loves her, not with whom she loved. You were never that important to her, Ethan. Chapter 20. Joel told me to wait for him. I didn't do it intentionally. I went to bed early, but still woke up again and again. Until one of those times, the sound of the phone woke me. An unknown number. I hesitated a few seconds, then answered. As soon as the call connected, I heard Ethan's deranged laughter. You don't have to wait for Joel anymore. I beat him to death. I frowned. Said nothing. Ethan kept talking. Do you know who Joel really is? He's my half-brother. Same father, different mother. He let out a distorted laugh. Did you really think he was with you for love? He got involved with you just to take revenge on my mother. To take revenge on me. He never loved you. Selena, tell me, who would love you if not me? Come back to me. I'm the only one who truly loves you. Too much information, too fast. I couldn't process it all. Joel, Ethan's half-brother? So that was it. My heart skipped a little. A dull ache. not strong. Barely a constant echo from nerves. And suddenly everything made sense. The pieces fit together. I felt strangely relieved. This really seemed closer to my real life. How could anyone love me without reason? I guess deep down I never believed it. That's why now I didn't feel sad. I replied coldly, even with a hint of irony. And then what? You're going to marry me, Ethan? Joel isn't going to marry you either. He just wants to take everything I like from me until we destroy each other. That either was key. In the middle of losing control, he finally told the truth. He never thought about marrying me. He never wanted to. I smiled without emotion. Too bad. Joel already married me.
Silence. Long.
Until with a hollow voice, Ethan asked, Selena, do you have a heart? I answered calmly, no. I don't. And hung up. Right after hanging up, an email arrived. It was from Ethan. An audio file. I opened it without thinking. It was a recording of the fight between him and Joel. Chapter 22. In the silence of the room, Joel's voice was clear. Every word echoed in my ears, amplifying until it became deafening. So much so that I didn't realize when he had arrived. It wasn't until he sat in front of me and gently wiped my tears I hadn't even noticed that I became aware of his presence. I turned my face away, avoiding his hand. Joel. Before I could finish, he took my face in his hands and kissed me deeply. His face was covered with bruises, blue and purple marks. It wasn't a pleasant sight, but somehow that wild look gave him a heartbreaking intensity. He kissed me fiercely, desperately, for a very long time. He only stopped when he rested his forehead against mine, looking into my eyes and said, Ethan's mother was a patient of my mother's. She had a complicated illness, and her family had no money. My mother cared for her devotedly. To help her, my father created a charitable fund at the hospital to cover that woman's medical expenses. But she used her gratitude as an excuse to seduce my father, and ended up destroying my parents' marriage. She repaid kindness with betrayal. The man she loved destroyed her. My mother fell into a deep depression. And yet, that woman kept coming to provoke her. My mother died without peace, in the deepest sadness. Joel's eyes were red. Tears welled up. Selena, I admit it. Being with you at first was part of my revenge against Ethan. My feelings weren't pure or entirely sincere at the beginning. But now I truly want to share a life with you. Ethan is not meant for you. If you decide to divorce me, I will respect your decision. I looked at the man in front of me, hurt and broken, as if he could shatter at any moment. He was like another version of myself, two people trying to put themselves back together from the wreckage of a shattered life. I gently wiped the tear sliding down his face. Joel, have you ever loved someone you couldn't have? He took my hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it softly.
No.
I lowered my gaze without joy, but also without sadness. A moment passed before I gently held his hand. Joel, shall we go together? Just you and me. In that instant, I felt like my heart had finally returned to the warmth of the real world. Its imperfection, its lack of purity, made everything feel more authentic. Joel lifted my chin. Selena, if you say so, you can't regret it afterward. I smiled. Not regretting it now doesn't mean I never will. But before I could finish, he kissed me again, this time without holding back. He didn't stop. His voice came to my ear, low and trembling. Tonight, even if you cry, I will exercise my rights as your husband. You're hurt. Well, the pain will make it feel even better. Joel, call me husband. The soft autumn wind entered through the window, swaying the moonlight spilling onto the floor. At last, there was someone in my life to walk alongside me. I didn't know how far this path would take us, but I wanted to walk it with him, shoulder to shoulder, amid the chaos of this world. In dreams, everything is flowers. In reality, everything is rubble. But he is truly here by my side. So let's keep walking until we can no longer look back, until the soul no longer knows how to heal. At first, Ethan didn't believe Selena and Joel had really married until Selena slapped the marriage certificate in his face. He stared without moving. His mind went blank. He never thought Joel would actually marry Selena. Joel was ambitious, always had been. Not only did he want to destroy Ethan wanted to destroy his entire family. How could someone like him have chosen to marry Selena? And Selena, so calm, so at peace beside Joel, as if the 8 years she spent with Ethan had left no trace on her heart. The way she looked at him, cold, indifferent, relentless, yet Ethan couldn't help but ask in a broken voice like a desperate fool, "Joel said you never loved me. Is it true?" Selena looked at him like one looks at a glass of lukewarm water, tasteless, emotionless, and answered calmly, "Ethan, didn't you really feel it? Did you never know if I loved you or not? Then why ask now?" At that moment, he lowered his gaze to the small elastic on his wrist, and his eyes began to burn. Suddenly, he let out a muffled laugh. Selena knew all his passwords: WeChat, Alipay, his bank accounts. Occasionally, she checked them to see if he talked to other women. When she had time, she cooked for him and brought food to his office. And if she saw him with another woman, her eyes filled with tears. How could anyone think she didn't love him? It was he who destroyed their love, little by little. He was the one who turned the hope in her eyes to ashes. That truth broke his soul like never before. He had always thought himself immune, a guy who could walk through flowers without a single leaf sticking to him. He thought love would never reach him. But now, that pain, like his heart being ripped out, barely let him breathe. He walked aimlessly down an empty street. Another year, another deep autumn. The wind blew cold, and the leaves covered the ground. In the distance, music came from speakers and spread around the corners. That desire to grow old with you is worth nothing anymore. You said one should not blame oneself for the sadness one creates. Anyone can completely forget anyone else. You only understand the weight of love when you have truly loved. You only understand the strength of wine when you have been drunk. And it was at the end of destiny that he understood what he had lost. In this life, one truly loves only once, and purely. Ethan gave that love to Selena. And Selena gave it to him too. But they never reached the end of the road. And now, whenever the night was too quiet, he would fall again into regret. If only he had married her earlier. If only he hadn't done all those stupid things. If only he had recognized his feelings in time. Would Joel have had the chance to get in his way? But in this world, there are no ifs. He was left to wander eternally between resignation and remorse. In this chaotic, aimless world, drifting with the current, that's how his life would end. In the days that followed, just as Joel said, no one bothered me again. I hardly saw Ethan anymore. They say Ethan and Joel were at war in the business world. In the end, Ethan's company was on the brink of bankruptcy. Lisa and that man, not exactly a saint, destroyed each other. That guy had her in his sights, making her life impossible. Lisa had no more peaceful days and even less time to come looking for me. And so, my life finally stabilized. Every morning upon waking, seeing the sun enter through the window, hearing the fresh birdsong and the murmur of people outside, made me think maybe the world isn't so terrible after all. As for Joel, he still takes me to the supermarket by the hand and we cook together when we get home. No matter how late it is, as long as he's not traveling, he always comes back. There are no other women around him. He despises infidelity with all his soul. And now, whether his love is pure or not, whether his heart is sincere or not, I no longer care so much. Being able to live calmly, without shocks, for me, that is already the best possible life.